Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another video. So deciding on a new monitor can be a tough decision, and with Sony's latest monitor release, it may be in your consideration. Well, this is the Sony Inzone M9, and this is their first jab at a 4K gaming monitor, so naturally I've been really excited to test this out. They absolutely knocked it out of the park with their PlayStation 5 obviously, so with this monitor branded perfect for PS5, it has to be amazing, right? Well, spoiler, it is amazing, but not quite perfect, which I'll get into within this review. Starting with the unboxing, the box itself is smaller than I thought it'd be. The outside has Sony Inzone branding, and that's about it. No specifications or anything, but if you're buying this, chances are you know what the specs are. Opening this up, you've got the external power brick and power lead. The power supply isn't really built in. I'm indifferent for this as long as it gets power and I can hide the brick. There's the individual parts that make up the stand, as well as a cable management clip. Lastly, there's the monitor itself, but noticeably there's some things missing you would normally get with a monitor of this price. This doesn't come with any cables at all, no HDMI, no DisplayPort, or even the USB cable for the built-in KVM. So factor that into your cost if you don't have any available sets of cables. In terms of setting this up, it is rather simple. You just need to screw together the stand to start. I did lose my screwdriver, so I had to use my drill. Please don't judge me. But for input, it's actually pretty good. You've got a DisplayPort, of course, for your PC, 2 HDMI ports, both of which are 2.1 supported, 3 USB-A ports with a USB Type-B port for the KVM functionality, a headphone jack if you need it, and lastly a USB-C port, which is definitely a welcome addition to monitors nowadays. The USB ports will allow you to KVM swap between your DisplayPort and USB-C device, as well as charger devices. And overall, the ports are actually pretty good, and just to set this up, all you gotta do is take the stand that you put together and clip it into the back, and away we go. And here it is, the Inzone M9, and honestly, I actually think it looks pretty good. I already dig the PlayStation 5 look with the stock plates, and this matches it perfectly. I'm not the biggest fan of RGB or anything, but it does have a built-in RGB strip on the back end with up to 13 colors. The shitty thing though is that it's insanely dull, like really doesn't get bright at all. And even in a dark room, it is barely noticeable, especially if you compare that with something like LG's GP950 that will literally illuminate your entire wall. When it comes to the stand though, I'm really not a fan. The height adjustments are awkward at best, and there's no monitor rotation at all. It does have decent range of height and tilt, but the height adjustments will change how far away a display is from you, if that's something that will bug you. But really, for a monitor of this price, the build quality is a little weak actually. It's rather wobbly and it's not very sturdy. So depending on how tied you are to the PlayStation 5 aesthetic on the stand, you could always just toss this on a VESA arm for full range of motion. For build quality overall, the display kind of feels a little bit lackluster, especially for $900. The light and cheap plastic has a lot of flex, but I guess it really isn't that much of a deal breaker, especially when you get into the display itself. This can definitely redeem some of the shortcomings of its build quality. Now this is a 27-inch display topping out 144Hz, which will easily cover you for both console and PC gaming. It's actually pretty impressive that a display of this size has 96 local dimming zones. Compared to an OLED display, you're not really going to get as dark blacks, but they definitely did a great job, especially for an LCD display. These specs are slowly becoming more and more standard across monitor releases, but quickly this is an HDR600 certified display, supporting both AMD FreeSync and NVIDIA G-Sync, both with variable refresh rates. With that, really this monitor does pair really well with the PlayStation 5, but it's also a perfect companion to the Xbox Series X. I did keep having issues with the HDMI 2.1 cable that came with my Series X though. The input kept cutting out non-stop, but only with this monitor. The same cable worked perfectly fine with both my HDMI 2.1 TVs. I guess I just had to swap out the cable for a higher bandwidth cable, and I've been a fan of these Lano ones. This isn't sponsored or anything, they're just good cables I can recommend. Now for PC gaming, it worked perfectly as expected. My RTX 2070 still holds me over really well and worked amazing while gaming Overwatch on this monitor. One thing I noticed is how well the colors pop on this display. Thoroughly impressed while playing Overwatch. Again, in terms of colors and blacks, you won't quite compare it to an OLED like my LG C2, but really you're not comparing these side by side to anything, and really it does look incredible. If you can settle for just an okay build quality, the display on here really is incredible and might be the best looking monitor I've used to date. Outside of the stock settings, which are already pretty good, the built-in menu is pretty robust. You can swap your black levels and gamma, add some crosshairs and FPS overlay. You can also swap your RGB colors and even set yourself a timer, which is always good, especially if you're already procrastinating. But forget about gaming for a sec, because on any display, all of them can entertain. With HDR 600 certification, not only did gaming look incredible, but so does content. Netflix on my PlayStation 5 picks up the display compatibility and plays it in 4K HDR, no complaint at all on how the image looks. But let me make this really clear, these are the worst speakers I think I've ever heard in any device ever. I mean, two 2-watt speakers is an absolute joke, and a simple way to tick off a box to just say it has speakers. I wouldn't use these speakers for anything more than like a Teams call if you're using this for work. It's straight up silly. You're definitely going to want to get yourself a headset or a set of speakers. Check out this quick sound test comparing it to both my iPad and MacBook. I would want to say they do the job, but really they don't. Forget they exist because it literally just might hurt your ears. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only gamer who uses the same monitor for work, so let's step away from gaming and entertainment real quick. I've got to give a good mention to this monitor for productivity, mainly because it can swap so easily between, say, a gaming rig and a separate work machine if you have it separated. The built-in KVM allows you to easily swap your peripherals by just swapping inputs, simple as that. The 4K is crisp as hell too, so in terms of display scalability, it really allows you to have a lot on the display. That and the USB-C port will output 15 watts of power delivery. If you have a newer laptop, 15 watts might be all you need to trickle charge your system, otherwise you will need power separate. Either way, it does work great and I can easily swap between my gaming rig and MacBook. Now let's sum up some of the pros and cons for this monitor because it can be a mixed bag. Some of the pros. Overall, I dig the aesthetic. It matches the PlayStation 5 perfectly well, assuming you haven't swapped out the base PS5 plates. And an easy pro is how good the display looks for gaming, which is easily the main focus. Apart from gaming, content looks amazing as well, and this turns out to be the best monitor I've ever used to date for visual experience. Some cons though are easily the build quality. As mentioned, it's super lightweight and sort of feels cheap. And if it is a consideration, the speakers are simply so bad, don't expect to game on these at all. And these last two ones are kind of tiny, but the RGB on the back is so dull, it's almost like it's not there. And finally, how is there no cables in the box? It's rather silly for a $900 monitor. To sum up this entire review, overall I'd say this monitor is good, but is it $900 good? Not really, and that isn't to say you shouldn't buy it. There's still lots of value here depending on where you personally place your value. Another monitor consideration could be LG's GP950, which I think I'm going to review soon, or if you really want a KVM, Gigabyte's M28 or 32U, both have that included. This monitor is still great, and as a bonus for anybody who really wants to match the PlayStation and Sony aesthetic, it definitely ticks a lot of boxes, but for me, I'll probably end up returning this unit to try something else, but let me know down below in the comments, what monitor should I be trying out next? Anyways, thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe if you loved it. We'll catch you in the next one.